Shalom, good morning again. Sorry, I just got home from riding my bike. This is Daniel Fitzgerald reporting. I hope you're well. I posted a video, a short one. I got another one I'm going to post. This is for the public to understand. There are filthy, dirty, organized criminal groups in our governments, okay? When they commit crimes against you and your property and your family, they use every resource at their fingertips to come after you. We've got lawyers who are criminals. We have corrupted psychiatrists who falsely diagnose Canadians who have evidence against the government or security, who are deemed mentally ill with some kind of mental illness, which they don't have, okay? The government protects themselves here by accusing innocent people and framing them with mental illness diagnosis they don't suffer from. This is, and I pulled this right out of the Hitler Manifest, okay, regarding the Nuremberg laws. Now, one of the things I forgot to point out in my last video this morning to you people is that, you see, I figured out what Mullowney was up to all along. Mr. Mullowney was set up to take my case. See, Mr. Mullowney is a lawyer, okay, who works in the mental health sector of the judicial system, okay? And so what Mr. Mullowney did was he treated me all along for 7 months like I was diagnosed with delusions and schizophrenia, okay? And Mr. Mullowney treated me like I was a mental patient and a ward of the state. And this would explain why, since day one, and Mr. Mullowney never answered any of my questions, and he never answered any of my demands, because he had already made up his mind that I was mentally incapable. Therefore, he tried to take over my estate, okay, by treating me like I was a mental patient who could not make decisions for myself. This is what Mullowney pulled all along, and he proved this in his threatening letter to me regarding the OGPT, the Ontario Guardian Trustee. It's a government agency. I did send them an email last night warning them about Mr. Mullowney's activities. Mr. Mullowney is in big trouble, okay? I'm going to be filing at the Supreme Court of Canada stating that this lawyer violated the charter. This lawyer tried to fraudulently act as if I was a ward of the state as a result of being mentally diagnosed and unable to control my own assets. This is the excuse that he used for trying to ruin my estate, okay? Now, this is for the Supreme Court. I have I have some diaries from my mother set up for photographing for the Supreme Court, and I'll be sharing these with other institutions. It is, and I say this to the public and to whomever may be listening, it's my brother who's insane. He's a monster. I have nothing to say to him whatsoever, okay? I could easily contact him anytime, you know, and he would probably go along with something, you know. But I don't even want to talk to him. If I did not know about what my mom wrote in these documents I'm about to take photographs of, and get to the Supreme Court of Canada, okay? If I did not know about any of this, if my mom's best friend Lynn Frail had not went into the house and collected all these documents, and she looked at them and she read them to me on the phone, Lynn Frail, regardless of being frightened or scared, is witnessed, okay, my brother's violence against my mother. What I have here, what I'm about to take photographs of, is quite shocking. Now, it dates back to 2000, 2001, okay? But the whole thing shows the character of my brother and the way he treated my mother. And my mother wrote diaries, and the people knew in Crystal Beach, because after 2001, this went on from 2001 as far as the diaries go, this went on right up to my brother moving out of my mom's house at 324 Derby Road in Crystal Beach. He abused her there as well because there were witnesses. Okay, Lynn Frail saw him do things to her, and the women that work at the Women's Institute know what he did to her. One of the women at the Women's Institute who spoke at my mother's funeral, on the video that was sent to me by the funeral home of her funeral, indicated Ruth is protected now. Believe it or not, somebody hacked the funeral home's computer, and they edited that statement out from this WI person, this Women's Institute person who knew my mom quite well, who spoke at the podium. And they also edited it out from the video I had received from the funeral director. They hacked my Dan Jen account. They grabbed that video. They edited this Women's Institute member stating on the podium at my mother's funeral, Ruth is protected now. It was edited out. And when I repeat what I said last night, when I asked for a second video from the funeral home, I asked for it because it had been clear to me someone hacked my account, my wife and I's email account, where the funeral director sent the video. Okay, and somehow they were able to edit that out. It was the people who are hacking my iPhone. When I watched the video, okay, and this WI woman went to the podium at the funeral home and said that, okay, whoever was on my iPhone, whoever's hacked our iPhone blocking me from the Supreme Court because I didn't get auto responses, was listening to this Women's Institute person at the podium saying that. And this is how I know my brother is an organized criminal and he's in with the mafia. And I'm telling you this. They're the only ones who have invaded, to a large extent, the government and security. So who did this? So whoever did that was trying to protect my brother. For example, I say again to you folks, I have these are my mother's. Here's one here from my mother. She wrote it on a receipt. This about my brother and what he's been doing to her. Okay, and I've got a whole bunch of other ones. Okay. Now, that's why people can't access the 3 videos on my mom's diaries, because someone is protecting my brother from criminal prosecution. I don't know what they're going to do at the Supreme Court. I mean, I'm going to give this material to the Supreme Court. If Canada obstructs, or me by blocking me from giving it to them, or the Supreme Court doesn't do anything about it, okay, then it's clear to me that the gangs are protecting my brother, and that's exactly what's going on here. They are protecting him. I told you that his son is half Italian. His ex-wife was Italian. And the Italian side of the family has heavy mafia figures in it. Okay? And so, of course, they would act to cover these things up, wouldn't they? Because they don't want to embarrass his son, Mark, who's half Italian. So I accused also the Italian mafia of the Metis family in Toronto. I accuse you of giving cover to my brother so that his son Mark is protected from any potential public criminal embarrassments regarding his father's treatment of my mother. And I make this point very clear. You cannot protect my brother, and I'm asking you to stop it. Okay? My mother went through 40 years of torture by this person, and even longer than that. And you people protected him. Okay? And you people have been using all your resources to protect him. You, your mafia friends in the government on Parliament Hill, your bikers, you have all acted to protect a Ted Bundy who hurt my mother, an innocent human being. And I want you to know that. And get your noses out of this. Stop protecting my brother, please. Because I am going to get these, no matter what. To an uncorrupted person of power who is going to do something. So you mafia, you're best to put earmuffs on my nephew Mark. You mafia scumbags who own my nephew. Put earmuffs on his ears and put blinders over his eyes. You're powerful. Why don't you send him to Sicily for a couple of years? Okay? While I take my brother down publicly for what he did to my mother. That's a suggestion. And if I were you, I would certainly think it over. Anyways, I got to go, folks. Shalom, God bless. I'm very strong, and I want people to know that I have a very special strength emotionally. I'm able to completely shut out things that would put me in tears. I'm able to put a block up, and I can pull that block down or block it up anytime I want. Okay? I have a very, very powerfully strong emotional system. It's very powerful. They can't break me. They've been trying now for years. They can't do it, Canada. You can't do it, eh, Mafia? Okay? Mr. Mullowney is a corrupt, dirty, filthy scumbag. And Mullowney, I'm going to sue you. Bank on it. And I'm going to say again regarding Mr. Mullowney, Mr. Mullowney took me on as his client to take advantage of me by trying to provocate, by not acting appropriately as my attorney regarding my mother's estate. He did it deliberately. Okay, Mr. Mullowney was trying to deceptively make me angry with him for 7 months so that he could have some kind of, I don't know, evidence against me that I'm nuts or something, or got a mental problem. No, I don't have a mental problem, okay? And I remind Canada, when you have a stinking lawyer like that occupying an office at the Chateau Granville or Chateau Laurier, that hotel should kick him out for what he did. Okay, this guy has no right to practice. When you have an attorney, okay, who's working for corrupted scum in Parliament, and they're using him to represent clients so that he can harass the clients and not do his duty as an attorney and not answer any of his clients' questions, which he did with me. Why did he do that? I'll repeat it again. Because Mr. Mullowney decided that I was diagnosed with some form of serious mental illness and tried to take over my estate based on that premise. That's a very serious complaint against him, and he needs to take it seriously. I know the Supreme Court will probably take it seriously, okay? And he's going to be disbarred for this, and I'm going to tell you now, Mr. Mullowney, nothing's changed. I want $50,000 in compensation from you for the emotional damage you have done to me, the emotional damage over my mother. You cost the estate, Mullowney. Okay? My mother's bills were not paid because of you, Mr. Mullowney, holding me back. And Mr. Mullowney broke estate law by not informing his client, me, that I was already executor and trustee. And he broke estate law when he did not immediately inform me when he received the bona fide will of my brother's will. For some reason or another, Mr. Mullowney couldn't see the difference between the two, that one was illegal. And other attorneys backed me up on that. Okay? Shalom, God bless. I'll be in touch. I appreciate the uploads to YouTube, and I thank you for that. But at the same time, YouTube, I'm not getting the coverage of the public. Something is wrong here. Okay? And I say again to the government of Canada, I'm going to put an end, Mr. Trudeau, to your actions of blocking me from getting outside of the country and blocking me from the news media, Mr. Prime Minister, and blocking my wife and I's rights of appeal anywhere, Mr. Prime Minister, okay? And trying to set me up with a corrupt attorney. Nice play. Him smashing me to pieces over my estate didn't work. And then the guy turns around and starts emailing me when I threaten him with the Supreme Court, and I tell him, well, they've told me to email them. They told me to send an app. I told him, I think the Supreme Court told me a month ago on the phone to send an application regarding our estate. And again, I thank the Supreme Court for that. And we are going to proceed with that. But I must say to the Supreme Court again, in my message respectfully to you, that listen, you're going to have to, the judges are going to have a discussion thread about what your government is doing, blocking me from contacting you and blocking your auto responses. Someone is stopping me from my right of appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada from my house here. And they have a plant somewhere around here who has equipment who is hacking my phone 24/7. Now, I can post the videos on YouTube. I'm not sure exactly why. I cannot explain that. Maybe this individual cannot get into YouTube. Maybe that's what it is, okay? Or this individual maybe, I don't know, they can access my camera, I know that, but so can I. So it seems to be the apps in the phone seem to be somewhat of a shared relationship with the scumbags who've been hacking my iPhone. Okay, they're not willing to stop me from uploading videos. They're not willing to stop me from recording them here, obviously, right? But I've had times where my video camera automatically came on. You know what I'm saying? And listen, I thank you people. I think what gives me strength is this. This gives me a lot of strength. God. This is what makes me strong emotionally. It's Him. And I can feel God's presence in my body internally. I can feel Him, And I tell you, people, for those of you that aren't religious, become religious. Because if you do, God will come into your heart and your soul, and He'll give you unbelievable strength. Most of the people who acted against my wife and I, they cannot believe my strength emotionally, their inability to break me through these sick, covert, evil plots against us. I would have thought they would have figured out by now that they wouldn't be able to break me. So, you know what they did? They used this attorney, and they used my mother, her passing, knowing that her passing would make me very sensitive because they knew I loved my mom. And that was a good way to get at me, wasn't it, Canada? Hey, Mr. Mullowney? Using my mother, who I think I had tears on the phone with Mullowney a few times over my mom. That's how much I loved my mom. And Mr. Mullowney used that emotional upset to provocate me into what? Calling him and saying, I'm going to come down there and strangle you or something? I believe that was Mr. Mullowney's motive. I think Mullowney's frankly sick, okay, for using my emotional upset and sensitivity over the loss of my mother to try and manipulate my upset over my mother's death and what my brother did to her to somehow make me break down mentally so he could pull this kind of garbage. And I think that is sick. And I think you, Mr. Mullowney, are sick and you are a criminal. And I'm going to do my best, Mr. Mullowney, to ensure that you're not hired by anyone. Because frankly, Mr. Mullowney, you're very dangerous. And the public needs to be warned about J.L.E. Mullowney. Okay? And shalom, God bless.